Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to a new edition of the Valentine's Views podcast here on Big Blue View Radio. Please like, share, and subscribe to support our channel here on YouTube. Today, I have a couple of things for you. Thought I would answer a couple of mailbag questions here at the beginning of the show, and I also have a short interview, hopefully a fun interview for you guys from Super Bowl Radio Row with Kayvon Thibodeau and Bobby Okereke, two members of your New York Giants defensive unit that we'll get to. We'll play a little bit later in the show. First, let's get to a couple of mailbag questions. And just a reminder, folks, if you have questions for the mailbag, please email them to bigblueview@gmail.com. I'll get to the as many as I can in a written edition of the mailbag, which appears on Saturdays. And occasionally we'll answer a few of your questions here on the podcast as well. All right, couple questions today, and we're going to deal with quarterback situations today with our mailbag questions. Gerard Rogers asks, in the ongoing debate about veteran bridge quarterbacks for 2025, he says none of them are particularly inspiring, but says he hasn't heard much about Marcus Mariota and Mitchell Trubisky as possibilities. Also asks about the possibility of younger players like Mac Jones, Hendon Hooker, and Malik Willis. So let me get into a couple of those names. Listen, guys, the primary issue that the Giants have is they're not in year one of a rebuild. They're not in a situation where they can just more or less plug in anybody and get by with that. They're in a situation after having been 9-25 the last 2 years, coming off a 3-14 season, where their product has to be better in 2025. It has to be better, or Brian Daboll is getting fired. He knows that. Joe Shane might go out the door with him, although I tend to think that John Mara really doesn't want to turn over the entire organization. So Shane might get more of a leash than Daboll. But either way, there is tremendous pressure on both of these guys to win games. So they can't plug in just anybody. Mariota is a maybe for me. Mitchell Trubisky is a guy. He's a no. You can't win. You can't win games. You can't be competitive and even look for an 8 or 9 win season with a guy like Mitchell Trubisky as your quarterback. You'll hear all kinds of names. We've talked about Justin Fields. We've talked about Russell Wilson. We've talked, the possibility of Kirk Cousins, coming to the Giants if the Falcons wanted to cut Kirk Cousins. I might even throw in the name Derek Carr if the New Orleans Saints, once they officially hire Kellen Moore as their head coach, which seems like the likely outcome here. If the Saints decide to move on from Derek Carr and decide to cut him, maybe you put his name in the hopper. To me, you have to have someone with proof of concept, someone who has shown that they can win games, someone with a bit of a pedigree. Whether you draft Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders or Jackson Dart or whoever, you have to have someone with a bit of a pedigree to open the season, to make it look like you're serious about attempting to win games, to give yourself the best possibility to win games, to put yourself in the best position possible, the most talented position possible at the quarterback spot. I'm not one who thinks that a Mitchell Trubisky type quarterback does that, or even a Carson Wentz, who I've heard people talk about. There's just no proof of concept for a long time with a guy like that. As for a couple of the other guys that you mentioned, the younger players, Mac Jones, please. We've seen what Mac Jones is in New England. Mac Jones was horrible in his opportunities that he got in Jacksonville last year. I've heard people ask about, or I've seen people ask about Zach Wilson. And again, this comes back to Zach Wilson was horrible in New York. What what proof of concept is there that Zach Wilson can be better in New York a second time, that he could be better with Brian Dable? Maybe that's the case, but I don't think that Brian Dable and Joe Shane are in a position to take that kind of a chance with a guy who really, especially a guy who failed in New York in Zach Wilson already. So I don't see it. I don't see Mac Jones. Uh, we've talked about Hendon Hooker before. Um, I've talked to folks in Detroit. The Lions are not of a mind to trade Hendon Hooker, so I think that's not going to happen. Malik Willis, why would the Green Bay Packers let Malik Willis go? I don't think anybody thinks you can build around Malik Willis, but Malik Willis did show in Green Bay that he can be an effective backup quarterback for the Packers. And every team needs one of those. The Packers are not letting Malik Willis go. I've heard people talk about Joe Milton in New England. And yes, Joe Milton has a big arm, and he put up decent numbers in the one game that he played in 2024. But again, are you going to give up draft resources for a Joe Milton? And are Joe Shane and Brian Daboll going to put their futures in the hands of a complete unknown like that? Absolutely not. I just don't see it. So that's where I stand on some of these free agents, potential trade candidates. Let me throw one more question in here before we get to my interview with Bobby Okereke and Kayvon Thibodeau. Andrew Winfield is looking at the quarterbacks in the draft, and Andrew Winfield wants to know if I've studied Will Howard of Ohio State, and why Howard isn't getting more attention. And Andrew, I have not fully studied Will Howard. I've watched a lot of his games, obviously from Ohio State. I understand the interest, and right now, Howard appears to be a late day two, early day three type quarterback in the draft. Kurt Benkert, former NFL quarterback who does a lot of breakdowns on YouTube, recently did one on Will Howard and said that what he sees from Will Howard is a guy who can have an NFL career, but a guy who's going to be, a backup quarterback, a spot starter, not a guy that you build your franchise around. Um, I guess when I think of that kind of description, what comes to mind is Mason Rudolph, who's bounced around the league a little bit with a few different teams and started here and there. Um, maybe that's Gardner Minshew, or maybe that's a poor man's Gardner Minshew. I'm not sure, but I look at the Giants and I think, look, if they don't get Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders at the top of the draft, or decide to pass on one of those guys, you look at the next tier is obviously, most people think of Jackson Dart, maybe Jalen Milroe. Um, Maybe in the right circumstance, the Giants draft a guy like Will Howard or even Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, because I look at it like no matter what they do at the bridge quarterback, uh, whether it's a high level guy, whether they make a big move for a Derek Carr or a Kirk Cousins or whatever they do, maybe they sign Sam Darnold. I don't know. I'm not in favor of spending big money on Sam Darnold. But to me, no matter what they do, they have to draft a quarterback at some point in this upcoming draft. So I would expect them to do that. And you have to put Will Howard in that mix if they don't. Maybe by the time they get around to a second round pick, Jackson Dart is off the board. Maybe they don't like Jalen Milroe. So you have to put Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shuck, in that mix of guys who might be possibilities at some point in the draft. So I wouldn't rule anything out. I wouldn't take anything off the table. I don't think that mix of late day two, day three guys are guys that you would want to count on and put all your eggs in that one basket. But the Giants do need to draft a rookie quarterback and under the right circumstance, some it could be somebody like Will Howard. I wouldn't doubt that at all. All right, let's get to the interview that I did with Kayvon Thibodeau and Bobby Okereke from Radio Row in New Orleans. This is I'm going to apologize in advance. This is video audio that was provided to me. It's not great quality. I hope that you find the interview to be worthwhile. And as I said, I apologize in advance for the quality of the video that you're about to see for the next couple of minutes. Hey, Kayvon, Bobby, how you doing? What are you guys just how you been? Let me just start with what are you guys promoting today? What are you guys doing at the Super Bowl other than making trouble for people?
Well, we're at Super Bowl, obviously, watching the game. You can't have football without wings, and you can't have wings without Bounty. So we're here with Bounty, our wingman, the quicker picker upper. Bro, I thought I was a wingman. I appreciate it. But yeah, really, there are a lot of wings that are going to get eaten this Super Bowl season, and we want to make sure that everybody's equipped with the right gear. That being said, Bounty's quicker picker upper is our friend, is our wingman, and always has our back.
Gotcha. So are you guys, you're doing this with Bounty? Um, you guys just fans this week? You just kind of enjoying the experience and kind of hanging out and meeting and greeting and just being fans?
I'd say bitter fans. Obviously, season didn't go the way we wanted it to, so using this week as motivation, using this week as an opportunity for ourselves to visualize our team being in a situation, next year, a year or two from now, in the future. And yeah, just soaking it in. A lot of great networking here, a lot of great media opportunities. But yeah, bittersweet fans.
Yeah. How about you, Kayvon? Same with you?
Me, definitely not a fan of either team. I'm a fan of the sport, so I think I'm more going to watch the game to, really hone in on the different games being played, and excited to see some friends, in Saquon, and George Karlaftis, different guys who are playing in the big stage, and I'm super excited for them. Honestly, I hope they lose. I can't sit here and watch with a smile. The only smile I have is eating away and wiping my mouth off with some Bounty.
Man, preach.
There you go. Hey, let me ask you this. This is, Chiefs, Eagles, and I know you guys would rather be playing in the game, of course, but when people ask me about the game and I say, hey, I'm a fan of greatness. So I'm not asking you for a prediction, but I would love to see a three-peat just because, I'm a fan of, seeing somebody do something like that for the first time. Um, just, how do you guys feel about that? As watching the game from your perspective.
Man, I think being a fan of greatness is well said. I wish I would have said that myself. I would definitely, and I know Bobby can agree with that. We definitely are fans of greatness. And, I think when we look at greatness, not only is the repeat potentially included in that, which is a great game of football. I think that's what we all want to see, as competitors, as, two players that aren't in it and want to be in it. We want to see a great game. We want to see, honestly, a defensive masterclass. To be honest, I would love to see some defenders stop the run, some cornerbacks stopping passes and shutting things down. So yeah, super excited for what's to be shown.
Yeah, yeah, along the lines of greatness, I see Saquon potentially have the opportunity to be a regular season MVP, a Super Bowl winner, and potentially a Super Bowl MVP. I think that would be the epitome of greatness. So I'm rooting for him to have success. Uh, yeah, rooting for a big game.
How's your back doing, Bobby?
It's a lot better. I'm sitting down very comfortably. I'm back doing Pilates. I'm back lifting. I'm back running. I feel very blessed and I feel very humbled by experiencing that back herniation and coming out the other side of it. I've learned a lot about my body.
Do you guys just, I mean, I know I'm probably running out of time here, but just let me throw this out at you guys. It's the off season, it's your time away from the game and all of that. But do you pay attention to what the organization is doing, what people say they might do, the off season moves? Do you pay attention to that, or do you just get away from it and worry about it, when you come back?
I think for me, I look at it from a fan perspective. Like that, like off season, when I'm looking at my own team or just the news around the league, that's when I look at it from a fan perspective because we can't, we have no real control over it. And I think it's super interesting. I think, speaking, I probably can speak for Bobby, a guy who, loves the business behind football. It's interesting to see how things shake out and how things work and what choices and decisions are made. So super dope, super excited, super interested to see, how things kind of shake out as the draft comes.
Yeah, a little bit. I like how Kayvon said from a fan perspective. I'll be watching the draft. Definitely as a fan, excited to see who's joining our team. It is cool to look outside and see a free agency, to see who the guys are that are free agents, see our team needs. Definitely need the time to decompress mentally, emotionally, physically, all etc. So take some time off, but at the end of the day, we're all doing our best to build a championship team. So we're locked in on it from one aspect to another.
All right, our thanks to Bobby Okereke and Kayvon Thibodeau for a couple of minutes from Radio Row in New Orleans. Giants fans, that's our show for today. Thank you, as always, for watching. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.